Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. My name is Mr. Dogbout333, and welcome back to Hearts of Iron 4 Kaiserreich as Ukraine, or the Ukrainian state as of now. Last video, I believe we finally crushed the, whatchamacallit, the Parliament Rebellion, or the People's Republic Rebellion. So we are now basically controlled by the military, which is going to be a little interesting, but we're not going to last that way for long. That's the good part. The bad news is that we're probably going to be a little worse. Because we'll go Nat Pop. Might arguably be worse, depending on your point of view, or your persuasion. Go for doctrines. I think I might go ahead instead and work on templates instead. There we are. Our military forces quickly mopping up remains of the VDR and Proskurov, our troops have made an unlikely discovery. Besieging a small country house long demanded by its owners and being used as a command center for the rebels in the region, troops were met with fierce resistance. After a long battle, we were finally forced to surrender. When the guns fell silent, a familiar-looking figure emerged from the house, proclaiming himself to be the commanding officer present and asking for his men to be given amnesty while taking responsibility for the incident. Despite the initial shock at first, it became apparent that the officer was none other than the self-proclaimed King of Ukraine, Archduke Wilhelm, better known as Vasil Vyshevanyi. After being arrested and sent to the nearest camp for questioning, Wilhelm was put through interrogations and demanded to confess that he was present to further Austro-Polish interests in the Hetmanate. The Archduke, however, is adamant that he came on his own accord and fought for no one other than the people of Ukraine. It is rumored that his extraordinary testimony, as well as his tales of prior exploits during the Weltkrieg, have swayed some soldiers, but the government is adamant that he be treated like any other prisoner. Plans are already being drawn up to move him to a more secure prison in the capital, though no doubt he'll be back in Lemberg within the week. Let's see what the Austrians have to say. What a development! Switzerland has joined the Reich Pact. Interesting. So much for neutrality, huh? Let's get another general going. Let's go with Mikola. Let's get old Mikola in. Word has come in from our ambassador in Vienna that Austria has petitioned for Wilhelm's immediate release. The Austrian ambassador in Kiev has passed on a telegram from the Austrian government explaining that Wilhelm's extraordinary appearance in our territories was due to his yacht losing course on the Dnipro and simply searching for assistance, ironically a direct contradiction of his own account. It was further noted that the Austrian government allegedly had no knowledge of his presence and have continued to deny the presence of any Austrian subjects in Ukraine. While the word is hollow, it's the best we can get for now. As expected. We could do responsible governance. Let's do responsible government. With the indefinite suspension of Soim, the government more accommodating the hetman must be established. From now on, the hetman's will be carried out by truly loyal servants, with a council of ministers composed from the people, carefully picked by the SHT, taking on the burden of legislative authority in addition to its usual executive responsibilities. Well, good to see you. Nietzsche, how are you, friend? How's life in Ukraine going for you right now? Here we are. For many, the anti-Hetman revolt once and for all dispelled the notion of the Hetman's regime as a sole possible guarantor of stability, so desperately needed for the development of the young Ukrainian state. Yet, with the disarray of the Republican forces, the greatest threat to the Hetmanist dominance over the political system remains a question to many, at large, for many. Some signs are indicating that one of the greatest threats to the Hetmanate may not come from the left as it once did, but from the right. In the situation the Ukrainian state finds itself in, the nature of the League of Ukrainian Nationalists, an organization fully and zealously dedicated to radical change, has given the once small and relatively unimportant group a chance. The military has become one of the most prominent breeding grounds for the organization. The defections during the revolt, as well as the subsequent attempts of the current regime to make the army more politically reliable, has led the League to intensify its agitation among soldiers and junior officers, invoking a vision of a new Ukrainian state guided by the principles of duty, discipline, and military camaraderie. We'll keep an eye out. No regular stuff. Oof. Yeah, bombing, drone attacks, all that good stuff. Well, we will keep an eye out on these guys. That was a random, 5 ads. It happens. Happens. I don't think it's supposed to be that many ads, but just might have lucked out. Yeah, we're going for the I guess it's the LUN in this timeline. Is that? Oh, I think it's a different guy. It's a Mikula, but not the same Mikulai. Yeah, from my understanding, they can get the most claims over in this region, so that kind of seems the most interesting to me personally. Plus, we got done playing the left-wing campaign, like a hard left campaign, so I think it was only fair that we went ahead and did the other side of the political aisle. So, we don't want to do any land reform. I think I'll go ahead and wait to do some development in Kherson and Crimea. Crimea. I'm not sure how you say it exactly. Maybe nothing. Maybe you don't say it like any of those. Bulgaria is getting crushed right now. Yep, there we go. Responsible governments. We'll go ahead and do... Well, I don't want to go after the Nat Pops. But I will go after the Red Menace. As proven time and time again, both in Ukraine as well as the rest of the world, independent unions are a hotbed for syndicalist activity. All unions not under the oversight of the government shall be dissolved, and potential socialist agents shall be put under constant surveillance to protect the state. I actually like the BASF Petroleum Development. German subsidiary of IG Farben, BASF, is among the leading petroleum companies in Europe. With their expertise, we can modernize our oil fields. Let's do it. Let us do it. We get to do all the industrialization that we want, which is very nice. Because we do need to industrialize, but we can't touch land reform at all, which I wonder what exactly that'll give us. And that would also give us some civilian factories. No, that's all industrial stuff, actually. So I'm okay with this. What do we have to do? The Great Western... Let's do the Great Western Railway real quick, then. Better known as simply the Russian Union. The Russian Union in Ukraine is one of the longest active non-governmental organizations in independence-era Ukraine. Officially, it is employed to defend the rights of Russian speakers, and more specifically of Russian language and education. The Union's support is generally limited to circles of Russophone intelligentsia that remained in Ukraine upon the solidification of Ukraine's independent course. However, in its attempt to gain a foothold among Russian-speaking workers has failed. In spite of its official position, it has often got on in spat with authorities, who have accused it of acting as a front for Russian state interests and some of its more radical members of being agents of Russian intelligence. Nonetheless, the Union has remained active and continued its relationship with Ukrainian state structures. They may be loud, but they pose no threat. Russian presence in Ukraine, I'm sure that's not going to be a problem. Here in real life, I don't see that being a major issue for us. Ooh. The Kingdom of Finland has approached us regarding the procurement of grain due to their lack of resources. Due to financial constraints by Black Monday, we had originally, to the detriment of Finns, been forced to cut off grain imports, ending the nation from its primary food source. However, as the crisis began to slowly ease, it seems that we can begin exporting it once more. Then again, it's also true that conserving grain for Ukrainians at home would also be wise, so as to combat any potential crises. What should we do? Well, we shall sell the grain. What could go wrong? Let's see. Russia's going with the Empire, it seems. Ukraine. Ruthenia is staying, I think, aligned with the Reichspakt right now. For now. So I'm curious how that's gonna go. Industrialization. Okay, so this is the land reform stuff. Which we're not gonna touch at all. For what we gotta do. Not boring path? Maybe. I haven't played either yet, so I don't want to comment. Well, I played Russia a long time ago, I want to say. Mozambique Bush War. Little IMRO conflict over here. It's very fun. I do really like what they did with Serbia over there. I mean, do I really care about this? It's not going to last for much longer, so I'm just going to let it be for now, I think. You could do a central industrial zone as well. It would kind of hinder us a little bit in the short term, the rest of our factories, but we'll do a central industrial zone. Oh yeah. Not like you guys had any starvation-related tragedies in your history. You're fine. The course of the last few months have shaped a hetmanate that looks very different to the one that existed before. The SHG state-building project is a large departure from the visions of the Ukrainian state previous conservative governments, whereas their vision of tradition was that of a watchful hetman balancing parliamentary and regional interests. The figures beyond the union of hetmanite state builders can be described as neo-traditionalists seeking to invest absolute power within the sacred institution of hetmanate and the ministers acting on its behalf. In their eyes, recent turmoil vindicated their view that the hetmanite and state are under siege, and the establishment of a neo-absolutist state is absolutely necessary for the forces of tradition to ward off the global onslaught of modernism. Few people can fit this character as nicely as the new Ottoman minister, Boris Hamzin. Hamzin is one of the founding members of the SHD, having had a long career in the affairs of military and security, forming a life dedicated to the services of a hetman. In Hamzin's views, the date April 29, 1918 marks two events that define the Ukrainian nation. The first event is the establishment of Ukrainian independence and sovereignty, returning Ukraine to the status it held before 1654. And the equally important second event was the creation of the Hetmanist movement, which Hamzin views as the creative start of Ukraine's bright future, words befitting his hobby of writing poetries, plays, and prose. Central to Hamzin's policies is his belief that upon its independence, Ukraine once again was a hetmanate, whereas the Russian state overthrew its monarchy, and because of this, Ukraine has become a more legitimate state by returning to its natural form of government, something that Russia spurned. Hamzin's views on Russia have been known to take on unusual dimensions, expressing a view that the development of Bolshevism was not foreign to it, but rather a direct result of Russian mentality and historical past. This goes hand in hand with his opposition to Russian expansionism, something that the SHC government adopts as one of its raison d'etre. The belief of Holmes in the SHC's hetmanate is a guarantor of Ukrainians' independence, and that its defense and empowerment is necessary to ensure that the nation remains as such, an opinion that informs the entire political program. The hetmanate will defeat the dark forces. Excellent. More political power. I love to see it, personally. Oh yeah. See, in the chat, you're on it. So need to eventually do the Great Eastern Railway. Concentrate Industry 2. Getting more industry stuff, very nice. Let's go for excavation. Italian National Republic versus Venice. Formation of the Moscow Accord. Sweden's joined the Reich back. That's interesting. Russia's decade-long slump has ended. Now the Russians are rebuilding already. They raise claims over their former imperial territories, and Eastern European states are surely going to be one of their targets. To make sure that the Russian threat is contained in Eastern European states can defend their sovereignty, leaders and generals of the Ustasien have gathered in Riga to discuss a program of mutual cooperation. A joint military defense fund has been established, and the UBD has been entrusted with managing it to fund the region's joint defense ventures. Great. We could get more investments, more loans from Germany. I think I'll hold off a little before we do that again. So same as a Poland LP, I believe. We will sign up. Why not? I think with how this works, if we go NatPop, we'll stay in the Reich Pact until the war with Russia is over, if I'm not mistaken. Which I could be. It is a very real possibility that I could be. Let's do the future centralization of state. Extra political power? Very nice. Ensure dominance over the political system, we also return to a policy of the 1918 Constitution, where instead of regional leaders being elected locally, they will be appointed from Kiev. This will bring further control of the SHG in not only national, but local affairs. Is it Kiev or Kiev? Nietzsche, you'd probably know better. Well, I would imagine you know more than I. Is it Kiev or Kiev? Kiev. Okay. Kiev. Okay. Kiev is Russian pronunciation. Oh, okay. I understand. A little-known facet of Ukrainian culture is a homegrown animation industry, which has recently been receiving wide international attention. It originated at Odessa Film Studio, a company formed when native Ukrainian film studios merged after struggling to stay afloat after Civil War, under the auspices of a man named Vyacheslav Lewandowski, who is praised as a father of Ukrainian animation. A student of ballet and a graduate of Kiev Academy of Arts, Lewandowski was drawn to the Odessa film industry, where he originally worked with puppets, stop-motion animation, and rotoscoping, creating the first Ukrainian animated film, Straw Bowl, in 1927. Odessa Studio still working, probably. Interesting. Okay, nice. He soon grew interested in celluloid animations developed by Walt Disney Productions and Fleischer Studios, as well as the use of sound synchronized with animation. Lewandowski and other Ukrainian animators were mainly introduced to these concepts through the cultural magazine Dilo, The Deed, published in Galicia, but which was shared among intellectual circles in Ukraine. Dan Lewandowski moved away from puppets and started using a cell animation, beginning work on his most well-known cartoon, Tuk Tuk Ya Yoho Byatel Zook, Tuk Tuk and his friend Zook, in 1928. This was an attempt to create a pair of serial mascots for Ukrainian animation, characters akin to Mickey Mouse or Betty Boop, who could appear in many different cartoons. The miniature boy Tuk, Tuk's canine comedian Zook have starred in 3 stories thus far, all made by Lewandowski, alongside his colleagues Ippolit Lazarchuk, Serhiy Kononchuk, Seaman Huteski, and Yevhen Horbach. Over the course of the last decade, they found immense popularity among Ukrainian children and helped elevate themselves as a reputable new art form. Just as Lewandowski was himself inspired by foreign ideals, Ukrainian cartoons have spread throughout the Reichspakt and in Galicia, where they might help in turn inspire other animators. What a charming collection of sights and sounds. Wonderful. I think I'll go ahead and leave it there for this video, but thank you so much for watching, gang. Like, if you like, dislike, if you didn't leave any comments, feedback down in the comment section below. Check my favorite links down in the comment description box below, and if you want to keep up to date with uploads, hit the sub button for uploads that go up weekdays as well as occasionally Saturdays. That's all the time I have for my friends. I thank you all for watching. My name is Mr. Dogbot333, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.